Evelyn Marsh lit the stove, turned all four burners to high, and walked out the door without looking back, leaving her 6 children trapped inside a house designed to become their grave. Carl Benton, her estranged half-brother and lifelong con artist, was waiting just miles away, ready to help her disappear. Together, they vanished into the shadows, leaving behind a crime so brutal, investigators would call it one of the most cold-blooded cases in modern history. This is the story of how a mother and a monster planned the unthinkable, and got away with it. Evelyn Marsh lived in a faded blue house at the end of Rayner Street, a quiet road in a Georgia suburb where neighbors mostly kept to themselves. Her house, though modest, stood out for one reason: 6 children could always be seen playing outside, barefoot and wild, their laughter echoing down the block. The oldest was 10, the youngest only 2. Evelyn, their mother, was rarely seen smiling. She often sat alone on the porch, staring blankly ahead while smoking cigarette after cigarette. The living room floor was charred, walls blackened, furniture collapsed from heat. Her name hadn't shown up at any nearby hospital. The autopsy reports confirmed what first responders feared: none of the children had died instantly. They had succumbed to smoke inhalation and heat exposure, trapped as the flames tore through the house. Fire experts examined the ruins and quickly ruled out electrical malfunction. There were no faulty outlets, no overloaded circuits, no appliances left on by accident. What they did find was much more deliberate. It was as if she had vanished into thin air. What started as a tragic house fire soon turned into something far darker. All 6 children were found huddled together beneath a melted ceiling fan. Investigators quickly realized they hadn't had a chance to escape. The house had turned into a furnace. People knew her story. She'd been left by her husband years ago, overwhelmed and broke, trying to raise the kids on her own. Some pitied her. Others whispered judgments when she wasn't around. On the morning of July 18th, the air was thick and hot, the kind of heat that sticks to your skin. Evelyn woke the kids up as usual, handed them bowls of cereal, and turned the TV to cartoons. By 9 o'clock a.m., she was gone. The children remained inside, unaware of what was about to happen. Around 1:45 p.m., a neighbor noticed dark smoke rising from the back of Evelyn's house. Within minutes, flames burst through the kitchen window, followed by loud popping sounds and the overwhelming stench of burning plastic and wood. The fire moved fast. Firefighters arrived by 2:03 p.m., but by then, the home was almost entirely consumed. It took nearly 45 minutes to bring the blaze under control. No goodbyes, no note, just vanished. Surveillance footage later confirmed she left alone in her silver sedan, a small bag tossed in the back seat. Neighbors saw her drive away and thought nothing of it. After all, she left the kids home alone from time to time to run errands. No one had reason to worry. Hours passed. When emergency crews finally entered, what they found was devastating. In the chaos, Evelyn was nowhere to be found. Her phone rang endlessly. Her car was missing. The investigation began with urgency. Authorities needed to understand how the fire started and why 6 children had died without a single sign of escape. All 4 burners on the kitchen stove had been left on, leaking gas for an extended period before ignition. Traces of accelerant were discovered near the baseboards and behind the fridge. Her absence, once considered part of a grieving mother's trauma, now raised red flags. Her car hadn't been spotted on any major highways. A mother burdened by life had allegedly killed her own children for money. But the question remained: where was Evelyn now, and how far was she willing to go to escape justice? Meanwhile, the media dug deeper into Evelyn's past. Reporters uncovered a pattern of neglect, complaints with Child Protective Services, multiple reports from neighbors over the years, none of which led to formal action. Some described her as unstable, others said she was overwhelmed and deeply isolated. Her family, scattered across several states, claimed they hadn't spoken to her in years. Her ex-husband, still reeling from the loss of his children, told investigators he believed she had been mentally slipping for a long time. Her phone had been powered off since the morning of the fire. Credit cards were untouched, but then, a search of her bedroom revealed a crumpled receipt for a bus ticket purchased in cash dated just 2 hours before the fire started. Surveillance footage from the terminal showed Evelyn with her hair dyed black and wearing oversized sunglasses. She looked calm, detached. Even more disturbing, the smoke detectors in the home had been disabled. It became clear that the fire had been set intentionally and precisely. Evelyn had recently purchased life insurance policies on all 6 children. The timing was chilling. They were filed just 1 month before the fire. The total payout, if approved, would be nearly $500,000. The motive was no longer unclear. Evelyn had not only planned the fire, she stood to benefit from it. The children had no way out. The back door had been blocked with a piece of furniture, and the windows had been nailed shut from the inside weeks before. None of it was accidental. Every detail pointed to planning, not panic. Detectives turned their focus to Evelyn Marsh. As police scoured the area for more evidence, a second clue emerged: insurance documents tucked in the back of a drawer. Public outrage exploded as media outlets picked up the story. Days turned into weeks and Evelyn Marsh remained missing. Her name and face spread across television screens and news websites nationwide. Wanted for the murder of her 6 children, the headlines read. Tips came pouring in from all corners of the country, but most led to dead ends. The trail had gone cold until a bus station clerk in Alabama recognized her photo and called the tip line. Security footage showed Evelyn buying a ticket to El Paso, Texas using cash. She had altered her appearance further: shorter hair, new clothes, no trace of the woman once seen on Rainer Street. Law enforcement expanded the search westward. They alerted motels, gas stations, and bus depots along possible routes. Despite growing efforts to find her, Evelyn seemed to stay one step ahead. Then, a break. Police traced a burner phone purchased at a gas station in Las Cruces, New Mexico. Even more alarming, under the bed was a torn-up photograph: Evelyn standing beside a man no one recognized. Investigators feared she wasn't just on the run, she had help. Phone tower data showed it had pinged twice near a stretch of highway close to the Mexican border. He had served time briefly before vanishing from parole supervision. They spoke of escaping the chains of responsibility, of cleansing the past with fire. Border patrols were alerted, and fake identity rings in the Southwest were scrutinized for any trace of the pair. But they had vanished, leaving behind only fragments of a plan and a growing pile of evidence. Then, nearly 2 months after the fire, another break came. A stolen car was found abandoned in a desert town just 20 miles from the Mexican border. Inside were maps, 2 sets of fake passports, and a worn notebook. One message from Evelyn read, 6 anchors keeping me underwater. She described feeling numb and detached, calling motherhood a prison without walls. There were also drawings, childish stick figures surrounded by flames, all signed with a single letter. Tucked in the back pocket was a postcard from Tijuana with a date scrawled on it: August 5th. That date had passed, but investigators believed it marked the day they crossed the border. I want to breathe again. Another from Carl. Burn it all and walk away. No guilt and freedom. These messages left no doubt that the fire had been planned carefully, not in desperation but with chilling calculation. The connection between him and Evelyn was unknown, but surveillance images and hotel logs confirmed they were traveling together. When officers visited nearby motels, one clerk remembered a woman matching Evelyn's description. She hadn't given her real name, but paid in cash and stayed for 3 nights before leaving abruptly. Investigators no longer believed Evelyn was acting alone. Carl's criminal history included setting fires to claim insurance money, forging identities, and manipulating vulnerable women. He had disappeared from official records nearly 4 years earlier, and now it seemed he had resurfaced to play a role in something far more horrific. Authorities began combing through both of their pasts, searching for any point of connection. It turned out Carl wasn't a stranger. He was Evelyn's half-brother, born from an affair their father had in the early 1980s. The two hadn't grown up together but had reportedly reconnected online nearly a year before the fire. In her room, they found bleach-stained towels and burned clothing in a trash can. Using facial recognition software, they identified the man as Carl Benton, a known con artist wanted in 2 states for fraud and arson. What started as a search for a mother had now become a hunt for a deadly duo. The discovery of Carl Benton's involvement shifted the case dramatically. Their online communications, found on a discarded laptop Evelyn left behind in the motel, revealed months of conversations filled with resentment, delusions, and disturbing fantasies about starting over. With renewed urgency, federal marshals joined the manhunt. Evelyn and Carl were officially declared fugitives. The notebook was Evelyn's. It detailed days of travel, alternate names, and disturbing reflections about her children. From that point forward, Evelyn and Carl were ghosts. The world knew their names. Their faces were everywhere, but no one could find them. 3 months after the fire that shocked the nation, the case had grown cold again. Despite national coverage, international alerts, and rewards offered for information, Evelyn Marsh and Carl Benton had vanished without a trace. Whether she is still alive or met a darker fate remains unknown. Carl Benton is still on the FBI's most wanted list. The case remains open, but justice for the 6 children lost on Rainer Street may never be served. Authorities believe they had successfully crossed into Mexico using forged documents, but beyond that, their trail evaporated. The psychological profile built by FBI analysts painted her as someone detached from reality, manipulated by her half-brother, but also fully aware of her actions. Carl, on the other hand, was described as a sociopath, calculated, opportunistic, and likely to discard Evelyn if she ever became a liability. Rumors swirled on internet forums. Some claimed sightings in border towns, others suggested they were living under new identities in South America. None of the leads panned out. No woman, no companion, just a tall man with American features paying cash for everything and keeping to himself. Locals remembered him because he wore long sleeves in the summer and never removed his sunglasses. When police searched the area days later, he was gone. But in a trash bin behind a nearby hostel, they found a pair of women's shoes burned at the heel. Then came an unexpected twist. A woman visiting an abandoned trailer park near Hermosillo, Mexico, stumbled across a backpack stuffed beneath a pile of debris. Inside were U.S. passports, children's photos, and a burner phone with several undeleted text messages. The contents were sent to U.S. authorities, and forensic teams confirmed the prints belonged to Carl. It was the first physical trace of either fugitive since the fire. The texts were mostly logistical meeting points, aliases, and supply lists, but one message from Evelyn stood out. Sometimes I see their faces when I close my eyes. I don't think they've really left me. That message was chilling. It hinted at guilt, or perhaps paranoia. It was the only sign of emotion Evelyn had shown since the tragedy. Authorities feared exactly that. Another tip soon came from a remote town in northern Mexico, where a man matching Carl's description had been seen traveling alone. To this day, Evelyn Marsh has not been found.